it's almost exactly what he was talking about 2 years ago.
Senator, I don't know that
So
we've had
he's
specific
really
conversations
ahead of
around
the
that.
curve, and this year it's really going to be on target with
I'm not actually sure I understand this enough to
how
to
your
speak to
personal
that
information
specific
is
point.
obtained and
I'm not
exploited
specifically
to
aware.
manipulate
I mean,
your
I'm
emotions,
not sure.
your
Senator,
actions,
I look forward
and
to
your
having-
vote. Steve Rambam.
If you'd like, I can have my team follow up with you. I'm happy to have my team follow up with you on more information if that would be helpful.
So
Senator, I have
crank
not
this
heard
up.
that. Mr. Chairman, I will have my team follow up with you on what information we have. Senator, I don't know. I do not know. We can follow up.
Okay, do that.
I can certainly have my team get back to you on any specifics there that I don't know sitting here today. I'm not, but let me just.
How
can I
about
finish?
moveon.org?
Sorry, I'm not familiar with those specific cases.
Just so you know, I have about 14 minutes compiled of Mr. Zuckerberg saying, I'll have my team get back to you. So I don't have a team. I'll answer any questions you have. Welcome to, is there any way for me to not be blinded?
And they won't see you.
That might be a good thing in a couple of minutes. Huh?
Here, you can wear these sunglasses.
This is the second time you did this to me. They go with the suit. I win the Spot the Fed contest. Okay. By the way, this is legit. Before I forget, since this is the last time I'm going to be appearing at Hope, these are legitimate. Number one, we're looking for an Android app programmer. Come see me afterwards. Number two, anyone who can get any of these horrible home wiretap assistants to respond to hello wiretap, I will pay $1,000 for the hack. I have a few witnesses here. I've offered. And number three, the new ebooks on Apple, on the iPad, you cannot get rid of the New York Times. I'd like to get rid of the New York Times completely, but you can't get rid of it on that. I would pay $500 anyone who can make that disappear from my iPad. The other thing, Bernie, where are you? You can see. Bernie sent me a threatening note about 3 o'clock in the morning last week saying if you go over the 3 hours, we have a hook. We have a hook, and he sent me that exact graphic. So I'm putting it up there to tell you if I, power through the first couple hours of this because, and which reminds me, I've set my timer on my phone for 7:15 in case I run a little over. When the phone starts playing a police siren, which is my ringtone, you'll see. Then wherever I am, it's over, and I'm going to take Q&A, and happy to talk to people out in the hall afterwards. This really is no fooling. My last Hope appearance, and I'll explain further at the end. So, this is going to be a different type of talk than I normally give. First of all, I'm going to have some fun. Not that I didn't have fun before, but I'm going to really have fun today. But more than that, I'm going to get a little personal. Every talk that I give anywhere, any instruction, whether it's for law enforcement or investigators, or I speak at a hackathon or anything. Sorry, let me try to get this. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Well, then you personally are out of luck. I always say one thing. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to try to tell you, I don't think this audience would do it anyway, but I'm not going to try to tell you what to think, but I am going to try to tell you what to think about. I'm going to touch on some very, very important issues. And I want to tell you, right now in the United States, we are really tap dancing in a minefield. Things are very, very bad in the United States right now. Institutions that we terribly need are being attacked. People who should have credibility don't. People who should have no credibility are now pundits. It is now not just socially acceptable, but the norm for people to be proud morons. You can, I mean, you talk to people, you have an argument with somebody, and they say, listen, I know what I'm talking about. If they're debating with a scientist and the person says, listen, I'm a scientist. I'm the researcher that you're citing. They go, listen, never mind. I know, secret conspiracy. What was it that InfoWars said? There's a colony on Mars of slave children set up by NASA. I'm not making that up. It sounds like one of my jokes, but that's really what they said on InfoWars. And Zuckerberg said, you know what? We consider them a news source on Facebook. It's unbelievable. America needs hackers, real hackers. America desperately needs hackers. People who can take the, here's what hackers do. I don't care what anybody else's definition is. This is, in fact, what hackers do and are supposed to do. They're supposed to look at things, look at situations, look at information. They're supposed to take it apart, see what's at the bottom, and then report on that. That's what hackers do. That's not what hackers are doing anymore. I will tell you that in my opinion, the hacker community has turned into an adjunct of some of the most extreme political movements. And it's a terrible thing. It's a heartbreaking thing. I want you to know that I've spoken, and Bernie's my witness, I've spoken at every Hope conference. I was on a panel, the first one in '94, and then I spoke independently from '96. And if you want to see how people age badly, go back to '96 and look at my video. That was a hacker group. That was a different ethos. That was a different group of people. That was a different way of looking at things. I'm going to put some stuff up on this screen later, and you're going to understand why I'm separating myself from the Hope Conference. And it's not that I don't love you guys, I really do. There are people in this room that are practically family to me. Bernie fulfills an important role in my life. He's my late night Chinese food partner in Philly when I'm working cases there. Alex Urbellis, the guy with the scary mustache who was on before me, he and I work a bunch of tough cases together, and we put bad people in jail a few times a year, including lawyers. Eric and I have been friends for years. There's probably 50 people in this room who I've been closely involved with. And I can't affiliate myself with this association anymore, this organization. And I'll tell you why. And I'll leave plenty of room for you to get up and ask questions or tell me I'm a moron or whatever. But this is my last talk. This is absolutely my last talk. We have issue after issue after issue after issue in the United States that are major national issues that affect who runs the country, how the country is run, that people have no frickin' clue. They have no clue. Let's take, for example, the Clinton server. People talk about, they used bleach on it. I heard some congressmen saying it was destroyed. You can't recover deleted emails. And I was praying for somebody to say, hi, I'm from 2600 Magazine. Let me tell you why that's wrong. Fake news, we're going to talk about that. Guccifer, people thought that Guccifer was a legitimate information source. Never mind that all of his IP addresses were coming from the GRU, Soviet, I'm an old guy. Russian military, well, same thing, I'm going to say Soviet. Soviet military intelligence, the GRU. Never mind that he couldn't speak a word of Romanian. Never mind that he outed himself at one point. The press were clueless. What's an IP address? The DNC, DNCC, Podesta hacks, that everybody is furious at Assange. By the way, I'm the furthest you can get from an Assange, from being a fan of Assange. But everybody was saying, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, this is targeted. Assange was actually doing what hackers do. Releasing information critical for an informed vote. Where Assange was a bad guy was he was only releasing the information that was harmful to the Democrats. That's where he was a bad guy. But don't you think we should have known that the Democratic Party was submarining Bernie? Well, you can thank Assange for that. And if it affected people going out and voting for the Democrats, I got to tell you, I'm the only person in this room who ever actually investigated somebody with the last name of Clinton and built cases and won the cases, or won a portion of the cases. Nobody went to jail, but we got the result we wanted. And I want to tell you, as bad as Trump is, and he's not wonderful. He's not wonderful, and I say that as a guy who had hope for him. I got to tell you, even today, he's better than Hillary would have been. So, you want proof that the country needs hackers? Our choices were Hillary and Trump. We have 350 million people in this country. We have 350 million people in this country. Some of the most remarkable people are in this country. Some of the most remarkable people are in this room. And our choices were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Explain that to me some. You can't, but try, please. Facebook and the elections, for 20 some odd years I've been getting up here talking about how people are pigeonholed, how somebody can identify what somebody thinks, what somebody feels, how data is a window into your soul. And then suddenly somebody who has no conscience whatsoever, I'm talking of course about Tom Thumb, also known as Mark Zuckerberg, you're shocked that this guy sold your souls and that somebody who was smarter than the other candidate used that information? That's what Facebook does. It identifies you. It talks about what you think, what you feel. We know that in this room. Our shame in this room is we ignored it. But outside this room, people don't get that. And that's why America needs hackers. I know that Alex was talking about domain names before. Somebody should look into Comey 2020. Why does this exist? Who registered this, for example? Talking about the Wolf case, where they're going after Wolf and they're going after his girlfriend at the Times. Communicating back and forth. People swapping information. This is the formally sealed indictment. People really believe that they can have secure communications. We need hackers to talk about that. This is such a big thing, intrusion into this country, not just by Russia, who, by the way, nobody's even talking about this, but 3 congressional elections within the past 10 days were hacked by the Russians. 3 congressional elections. They're still doing it. They're still doing it. We need hackers. But not just Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, pretty much anybody with a computer and an internet connection and free time is hacking critical things in the United States. Okay, this is the perfect example. Somebody got a hold of all the confidential drone documents because the router in the secure location was set to admin. It's funny, but I got to tell you, it's heartbreaking. Expert, Putin can hack our midterm elections. You know what? As of yesterday, 3 congressional campaigns have suffered cyber attacks. We need hackers. Not just the elections, which decide what America does, who we are, how we can live our lives, kind of important, but infrastructure is being hacked. Power, water, possibility to make an oil plant blow up, possibility to open a release valve on a chlorine tank. State Department was given anybody. How much of the $120 million that the State Department was given to stop hacking that affects elections has been spent so far? Anybody? Zero. Correct. Putin and Trump meet in Finland. This is all the hacks of Finland. It's Finland, so no hacks. Trump and Putin meet. I don't know, coincidence? Probably not. On my side of the world, 1/3 of all cases of cybercrimes, hacking, ransomware, cyber extortion, romance scams, cyber facilitated stuff, but 100% of all crimes have digital evidence and a digital component. 100% of all crimes have a digital component. And law enforcement and prosecutors' offices and victims and private investigators are desperate for guys like you and gals like you. Desperate, desperate. The amount of talent in this room that's going wasted. You want to do something good for the world? If everybody in this room did one frickin' pro bono case, thousands of people would be helped. Cyber facilitated crimes, romance scams, investment frauds, CEO scams, cyber extortion. Some of it is heartbreaking. People kill themselves over cyber extortion scams, 2 cases I've worked on. Cyber defamation. Gathering evidence. Everything, I'm going to be talking about the Internet of Things as I always do. Everything is generating evidence these days. But the average field investigator is clueless. They don't know to check the thermostat to see if somebody entered the room. They don't know, most of them don't know to check a Fitbit to see if there was actually a struggle going on or a rape occurring. The Austin bomber case, I don't know how many of you follow this. I put this up there because one of my offices is in Texas, and I'm going to be teaching on this next Friday in Texas. This entire case was broken by digital evidence. Gathering digital video, enhancing the video, getting a license plate, getting other identifying information, correlating the license plate with a cell phone, pinging that cell phone, seeing where the person was, seeing that it correlated to the bombings, then going to where the cell phone was now. I mean, it was an old style, low-tech bombing, but got caught with high tech. Drugs in the United States right now, unbelievable. You may not know it in this room because hopefully you're not part of that world, but I got to tell you, tens of thousands of people are dying in the US from drugs. A substantial portion of it, and by the way, more people than die in car wrecks now die from drugs. More people than car wrecks. Substantial portion of it, well, the bulk of it comes from overseas, but a substantial portion of it is facilitated by internet activity. 90% of the fentanyl comes from China. And of that 90%, the bulk of it is ordered on the internet. Black boxes. This is something that cries out for hacker activity. Black boxes are things that perform a function and you can't get into it. That's why it's called a black box. Not just things like cars and tractors and hardware that you don't know what it's doing or what it's reporting, and it's your car, your tractor, you don't have the ability to repair it. It's not like when I was a kid, you could have 5 guys would get together on a Saturday and work on somebody's car. You can't do that. You can't even get data out of the car. But the one thing that Manning said that I agree with is you have to understand the algorithms. Artificial intelligence and software programs are today deciding who gets credit, and we're going to talk about that, some crazy stuff in a second. Who gets to rent an apartment? Who's declared a gang member? By the way, the FBI says that juggaloos are gang members, by the way. So if you're a juggaloo, you are now a gang member. And coincidentally, Juggalo makeup is the only thing that stops facial recognition. That's actually true. You should look that up. It's the funniest damn thing. They did a month-long study and they figured out Juggalo makeup stops facial recognition. So the Juggaloos are safe. But things like the value of a life, if the algorithm says you don't get a kidney transplant, you don't get a kidney transplant. If the algorithm says unplug grandma, they unplug grandma. If the algorithm says this person gets 20 years instead of 10 years, the person gets 20 years. And you can't argue against it. This person is a great guy, a great gal, doesn't deserve 20 years, the whole life in front of him. One stupid mistake, Aaron Schwartz. Aaron Schwartz facing 35 years in jail for downloading scholastic papers, 35 years in jail, and the algorithm says that's what he's facing. So he killed himself. Predictive policing, when it works, it's great. It's like watching magic. When it doesn't work, they swarm on completely innocent people. And by the way, Manning is a moron for saying that we should defund police. You know, that would be a great thing for America. You take 200,000 of the bravest, most committed, most decent men and women in America who are willing to run at a gun to keep a stranger safe and make your home safe and make your children safe. Yeah, let's get rid of those people. That's a good idea. Character analysis. I mean, black boxes are a gigantic danger, and we need hackers. We need hackers who find out what's really going on. This is an actual paper that's been adopted. Character-based personality judgments are more accurate than those made by humans. No. But this has affected hundreds of products. Predictive policing. Let's talk about fake news for a second. And by the way, this is my technique when I teach to law enforcement and investigators. I tell you all the scary, outrageous stuff up front, and then I show you the nuts and bolts of it. I get you so worried that you want to find out what's going on. It works for the cops. It gets their attention. I show digital officer safety, and then they go, oh, we better pay attention. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. No disrespect. This is an experiment. If it works on hackers, you know, maybe I'll try to sell you something at the end of this. So fake news. I'm with Malcolm. That's why there's fake news. Because people want to influence you and get you to do things. And by the way, that's the only thing I'm with Malcolm on, but never mind. This is an actual statistic. Fake news is believed more than real news. Research it. Research it, don't believe me, but that's a fact. Fake news is retweeted 40% more than real news. And people are proud to be idiots. People are proud to be idiots. Astrology, Nostradamus, pyramids were built by aliens. Millions of people believe this. The Holocaust never happened. Hitler was running a deli in Argentina. The World Trade Center was there. I guarantee you there are people in this room who believe that the World Trade Center was actually blown up by the government because they wanted to have 20,000 troops die in Afghanistan and Iraq, I guess. The Illuminati, the Masons, the Stonecutters, if you're a Simpson fan. There are millions of people, no disrespect for any religion, but there are millions of people who believe suicide bombers go to heaven and spend eternity with 72 virgins. Personally, one virgin is too much. I mean, okay, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Okay, this is a real thing. NASA had to actually hold a press conference and deny that it is a slave colony on Mars with kidnapped children. NASA had to actually hold a press conference. And for those of you visiting from out of town, there is not actual beef in New York City hot dogs. Okay, maybe a little beef, but it's like lips and tails. And anyway. Oh, and my favorite, our menu options have recently changed. They really haven't. Okay. In advanced investigative class, agents and investigators and detectives are told, you can tell the truth and still lie. Here is a description of the Wizard of Oz that actually appeared because somebody, God bless him, had a sense of humor. The Wizard of Oz, transported to a surreal landscape, a young girl kills the first person she meets and then teams up with 3 strangers to kill again. Okay, that's really what happens in The Wizard of Oz. But it's not a particularly accurate report. Adolf Hitler, a decorated World War I veteran who killed his wife and then himself, had reportedly been despondent. There's a little bit missing in the middle there. But this is absolutely true. You can lie and tell the truth. And I got to tell you, folks, the press is doing it. The right-wing press, the left-wing press, the middle-of-the-road press. They're out of their minds. And okay, the computer's going crazy. I'm good? Okay. As long as it's still up there. The New York Times did, and by the way, they're outrageously behind the times. Not just the Times, but every paper. They print things as revelations that the people in this room knew 5 years before. Here's a perfect example. There was a gigantic article about 3 weeks ago about people being harassed by their exes through Internet of Things. Thermostats being turned up and doors locking themselves, and the refrigerator, the internet connected refrigerator, why you would have one, I don't know, suddenly like all the eggs going bad. So here's a 2014 Amazon review by a guy who talks about doing the exact same thing. And I've talked about this sort of thing at least 2 of my seminars here, and people have come to me with amazing stories. I mean, I learned at the last conference war bulbing. Wi-Fi connected light bulbs, Philip light bulbs, people using them, war driving and using them to get into the household system, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. I learned that here. Stuff that is on the front page of the New York Times today, you guys know 4 and 5 and 6 and 10 years before. Let me ask you something. Everybody says Snowden is a wonderful guy because he revealed that people can be tracked and defined by their cell phone metadata. Was there a single damn person in this room who didn't know that before Snowden? But that was a gigantic revelation worldwide, apparently. Not for a single person in this room. The world needs hackers. The world needs hackers. Here's the New York Times article. Here's this 4 years earlier. Okay. Here is an actual New York Times article. Donald Trump is guilty. The only remaining question is, what is he guilty of? Let's find something. Doesn't make me feel comfortable. Another thing, New York Times, the book review to end a presidency. You think they might be a little biased? Here's The Nation. Be part of the resistance. They don't even pretend. Chick-fil-A, The New Yorker, a magazine that I love. I love The New Yorker. They are the top 1% of literary class, in my opinion. Them, The Atlantic, a few others. But they slam Chick-fil-A. We have too many Chick-fil-A's in New York. The owner is an evangelical Christian. That's bad. We should have less Chick-fil-A's. He's putting something in the nuggets, maybe, I don't know. But this is crazy. This is The New Yorker. This, as a guy who was an actual war crimes investigator and a bona fide Nazi hunter, I actually hunted Nazis, and unlike other Nazi hunters, I actually caught them and put them in jail and made their lives miserable. This is one of the most repulsive things I've ever seen. But this is Joe Scarborough. the famous NBC Joe Scarborough. I'm sorry that the Trump administration has created a vicious policy where parents are told their children are being taken to showers and never return. I don't know, you think this guy's slightly biased? And then you have the left-wing press that enables the Mannings and the Snowdens and the Assanges, which we're going to talk about. Before you think, oh, this guy's a right-wing asshat who is just knocking these people because of his politics, I'm going to give you some specifics. And then I'll answer any questions you have, as I always do. Meet the 8 spooky AT&T buildings that almost also serve the NSA. Okay. The NSA is responsible for signals intelligence. AT&T generates a ton of the signals. You think there might be a reason why the NSA wants to have access to AT&T data legally, essentially? The 8 spooky buildings. So, here's the part where I scare you to get your attention, so just be ready. Just be ready. If there's small children in the room, cover their eyes. I call this fear not. Fear not. I hate the people who say, Facebook, Google, Twitter, they're gathering stuff. I don't break the law. I don't do anything wrong. I have nothing to be afraid of. You have no idea what you're talking about. First of all, you may have nothing to be afraid of today, but tomorrow, something that's legal may not be. Something that's acceptable may not be. Let me give you a few examples of how data that is meaningless today may screw you to the wall tomorrow. A couple of examples. And by the way, I put this up there. Whoever this guy, I can't pronounce his name, Masaj Sastiak. I know, if you're in the room, I'm sorry I butchered your name. After the Facebook thing, he put up, I have two laws of privacy. And Rambam's first law is all data will be used for unintended consequences. And that's what happened with Facebook. It'll be used without your permission, without your knowledge. But if you put data out there, a couple of things. First of all, you lose all control. You can't get it back. Once it's out there, it's gone. And within a day, it's a million other places. But second of all, you don't know how it's going to be used. You don't know what you don't know. So, there are 72 categories of people that were declared by the US government in one document or another to be potential terrorists. People that talk about individual liberties, advocate for states' rights, those that want to make the world a better place, those that take action to fight against exploitation of the environment, those that don't think that they have to pay taxes. Anyone that complains about bias and so on and so on and so on. There are different government documents that have actually listed these people as potential terrorists. You don't know how somebody is going to interpret your beliefs. Okay, who remembers Operation Choke Point? Show of hands. That's why the world needs hackers. I wouldn't see a single hand if it wasn't this room. Operation Choke Point, for those of you that don't know, the Obama administration, who, okay, second thing Manning was right about, they were way more oppressive than the administration that came before or after or ever. And one of the things that they did was they went to the banks and they said, you should unbank people who have businesses in certain areas. Every single one of the businesses were legal, licensed. Ammunition sales, cable boxes, coin dealers, credit cards, credit repair, dating services, debt consolidation, surveillance equipment, telemarketing, tobacco sales, travel clubs. The Obama administration did not like these industries and went to the banks and said, squeeze them. You never can tell. You can take wildly diverse pieces of information and extrapolate out to other things. There's the one that I always talk about that Volkswagen found when they were reintroducing the Beetle. They found that if you own a cat and you eat chunky peanut butter, you are 4 times as likely to buy a Volkswagen Beetle. Okay, so that's funny. First of all, it's funny because they're Germans. No, I'm kidding. It's funny because a cat and peanut butter buy a Volkswagen, but it's true. They bought up all the lists. Back then it wasn't databases so much, and they sold a ton of Volkswagen Beetles. You never can tell what information will tell somebody. During and by the way, this slide here is from 2010, long before the Facebook kerfluffle. Rove did it on the Republican side. He determined, for example, if you drink bourbon, you're disproportionately Republican. If you drink gin, actually it was all clear liquids, white wine, gin, vodka, stuff like that, you're overwhelmingly Democrat. They know, for example, the average American has 9 friends, drinks milk from the cereal bowl, eats 25 pounds of candy, et cetera, et cetera. This is how carefully they analyze, because it helps them accomplish things. Long before Zuckerberg, they knew if you like butter, white wine, fig Newtons, fruit-filled cookies, Red Lobster, Volvo, or yoga, you are more inclined to vote for Hillary. The funny one, of course, is bourbon, stuffed crust pizza, Fiber One, Hardee's, Fuddruckers, and own a gun, McCain. Because you're a grumpy old guy who can't go to the bathroom. That's why. But this is true. This is overwhelmingly true. And if I would have come to you and said, "You tell me what you drink, I tell you how you vote," but it's true. Okay. This is true. People who believe in alien abductions are more likely to drink Pepsi. Okay. People who eat fresh fruit every day are more likely to buy expensive Canon cameras. This one, I don't even know how they would ask this question. People who cut their sandwiches diagonally are more likely to buy Ray-Bans. Okay, why do people do this? Not because they want to get inside your brains. I want to get inside your brains. I'm a detective. They just want to sell you stuff. They want to target stuff at you. They want to get your eyeballs. They want to get your wallet. They are not Big Brother. But the information that they gather is very, very often put at the disposal of Big Brother or worse. Big Putin, Big Wang, which is a great restaurant in Chinatown, by the way, Big Wang's. Anyway. Are you going to default on your credit card? Well, Canadian Tire did a survey, and depending on what type of car accessories you bought, what particular bars you drank in, what services you availed yourself of, they were able to assign you something more reliable than a FICO score. Now, here's where it gets crazy. This is a new paper that just came out a couple of months ago. FinTech, financial technology, credit scoring using digital footprint. Everybody needs to listen carefully because this applies to you. More reliable than FICO scores. Android users are twice as likely to default on a loan than Apple users. I knew it. Those who purchase items through their mobile phone are 3 times more likely to default than those who make their purchases on a desktop. Type of email address used also matters. Those who use Yahoo email addresses are twice as likely to default, probably because they're 90 years old and they're dead, but that's a fact. Those who fail to use capital letters when filling out their name and shipping information for purchases are twice as likely to default. Purchases made between noon and 6 p.m. are half as likely to default versus purchases made between midnight and 6 a.m. It's because you're drunk, you don't remember ordering that piece of crap, and you're not going to pay for it. But these are used now for credit scoring. You don't know how the most innocuous, seemingly unconnected things are going to affect you. And yet, brothers and sisters, you put all your information out there. You tell the world everything. You just can't shut the F up. And you are killing yourselves and killing your future. You really are. So, how vehicle information informs credit risk. By the way, I'm just going to switch right to this because I drive a Subaru. Subarus are the most trustworthy people. If you drive a Land Rover, you are something like 14 times more likely to default on a loan than me, reliable Outback driver. So send me your checks. And by the way, stuff that happens overseas, you got to pay attention because eventually it percolates here. If you want to know where surveillance tech is going or law enforcement tech is going, watch China and the United Kingdom. It's always done there first. Always. If you want to see where laws are going and foreign policy is going, watch Israel. Not because the elders of Zion control the world, but because they do things faster and with more urgency, and eventually it percolates to the other parts of the West. Here's an example of something Australia's doing. You can no longer make a purchase with cash above 7,500 bucks. Period, end of story. And of course, like every other annoying, onerous thing that's done to you, it's for your best interest. It's only targeting criminal gangs, terrorists, and those who are trying to cheat on their taxes, protecting you. But then all the way down at the bottom, they let it out. The goal is to drum up about $3 billion in new tax revenue. Of course it is. Of course it is. Do you know, you can be on no-fly list, you can be a wonderful guy, you can have no criminal record, you can be a government employee, you can be whatever, but if you bitch at the TSA agent, you get put on a list. There's an actual list of people who are confrontational with TSA, and you can imagine where that goes. So, what I want to communicate here today, among other things, is that everybody in this room knows what's what. I'm talking about things, I'm compacting things, I'm perhaps giving some pieces of information that you don't know in particular, but everybody knows, everybody in this room knows that you are giving away your deepest, darkest secrets willy-nilly. You may not know exactly how you're doing it. You may not know that if you get a chunky peanut butter coupon and register your cat with the vet, that Volkswagen is going to start sending you marketing emails. But everybody in this room knows that you're basically giving the store away. You're giving away your deepest, darkest secrets. Facebook has algorithms that can tell whether you're depressed. Why? Because they discovered that depressed people buy more stuff. That's an actual thing. Google it. Well, don't Google it. DuckDuckGo it or something. But you know what I mean. The point is, and by the way, two things that I want to say. Since this is my last talk, I want to clear this up. I've had 3 comments repeatedly. Why do you put so many damn slides up there? Why do you wear a suit? And why do you mention gay people? 2 of those are stupid questions, the third one is not. I'll answer them all very quickly. I put stuff up there because I like to show my work, as they used to say when I was in grade school, and I want to give you guys a chance to look it up yourself. I don't want to sit here with one slide and talk and say, just believe me. So I show my work. That's the reason for 534 slides today. Number 2, I wear a suit because I was raised that you get invited to speak to a room full of people, you show them respect. I'm wearing a suit. Plus, I look damn good in a suit. Third of all, I do not dislike gay people. I support gay marriage. I've performed a gay wedding. I'm a marriage officiant. If anybody wants to get married on Monday, give me a call. Well, a week from Monday, I'll be out of town. But I mean, gay people have a right to be as miserable as everybody else. Let them get married. But no, that's an old joke. Unfortunately, there are still many, many places and many, many circumstances where people don't want to come out of the closet. They don't want to come out of the closet because their parents won't understand. They have a stupid boss. they're in a Bible Belt community, or an Orthodox Jewish community for that matter, or whatever. And it's a pressure point. For those of you who are Russians, compromise. Up. Where's the SVR agent in here? So anyway, well, actually, if you're here, you're an FSB agent, sorry. But I mention things that affect gay people because they have an extra level of need, unfortunately, still, to protect an extra level of secrets. Not because I'm attacking gay people, because exactly the opposite. So now that we've gotten it out of that way, anyway. When I started doing this talk, it was privacy is dead. And I talked about how you can take any piece of information and start pulling a string, no matter what it is, a license plate, a phone number, whatever. And within 10 minutes, you have name, address, telephone, date of birth, place of birth, social security number, all the way down to things you wouldn't expect. Politics, habits, hobbies, medical history, what books you read, what movies you watch, which, by the way, tells other things. Speaking of gay people, if you buy a book on gay cruises, you're probably gay, or at least curious. Businesses, companies, military, criminal history, finances, everywhere you've ever been for the past 10 years. If you look at the Wolf-Page interaction, the feds went and got 7 years of her phone and travel history and credit card history. I used to talk about Hoover's Law. I'm going to talk about it again a little bit today. Nothing gets thrown away. There's no deleting. It's not like when we were kids and we had to swap floppy disks and we had to throw away files we weren't using anymore that we printed out. Nothing gets thrown away. Nothing ever. So if the government, for example, Department of Homeland Security, their current plan is to keep 75 years of border crossings. And that was made 8 or 10 years ago, so now it's every border crossing ever from now on. Nothing gets deleted. And you can take all of this remarkable information, drip, 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 and you gather it all together and there's nothing that I don't know about you. Every bit of data that I'm talking about today is available data. It's stuff that I can get. It's stuff that at least half the people in this room can get. 90% of it everybody can get because it's all open source intelligence. The vast majority of what I'm talking about today is stuff that you contribute. The best intel is self-contributed data, guaranteed, always. I tell you that as a professional investigator. I've got 2 hours and 15 minutes before I'm going to Q&A. Just between Hope in 2016 and Hope today, 11,000 new files in what we call the DB file. 11,000 new documents. I can't even cover 1% of the stuff that I've gone over, so let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, is other seminars you'll be able to avail yourself of, and I'm coming out with a book, which hopefully you guys will all read, and makes a very, very good Christmas and Hanukkah present. I used to put this up on the screen. Everybody knows this now. When I put this up in 1998 or 2000, this was a big deal. Who doesn't know this? Computer powers and speed keeps going up. Storage costs are disappearing. You can go to Staples or Best Buy or whatever, and you can get an 8 terabyte drive for $200. An unfathomable amount of storage, you know, of just a few years ago. Everything is now digital from inception. OCR sucks in old data. Cell phones changed the world for investigators and privacy invasion. Super accurate profiling. Why? Because it's worth money. This is all about money. This is not about screwing you. Tracking. I can find out where you are and where you were. That's it. I can. That's the bottom line. Anybody who thinks that Snowden was revealing something remarkable didn't pay attention to when I put this exact slide up in 1998, this exact slide. I mean, everybody knows this stuff, but nobody pays attention, nobody internalizes it. Once you put something out on the internet, you can't take it back. You need to police your internet presence. I mean, this photo will never disappear, not only because I use it for every talk. This photo will never disappear. Grab this photo and run it through TinEye or Google image search. It's in 20,000 places because the guy is just such a remarkable putz that it's a great picture. Anyway, that's a bad word in Yiddish, I take it back. Okay, and if you cooperate in gathering of data, even if you don't put it up, your friends will. You think these girls willingly posted this photo? You gotta police your internet presence. This guy, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. If I was on the opposing counsel's team, I would walk in and go, "Is that you?" He's not gonna pay attention. I put this up 10 years ago. I'm putting it up again because it's the key point. Forget about storage, forget about algorithms, forget about matching, forget about amalgamation and interpretation and extrapolation. The main thing that's changed is people just don't give a damn about their privacy anymore. And it's because they don't understand the risks. When I was a kid, if somebody revealed something they shouldn't, you would say, "Damn, I shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that." Today, nobody thinks that way. And it's in large part because they don't understand the danger of what that information can be done. First of all, it's not just you talking on a street corner. It's you talking into a database. Everything goes into a database. Everything. Everything you do on Facebook. It's astounding to me how many people go on Facebook think they're only talking to their friends. Every post, every photo you put up, every personal bit of information, every meeting, every dinner, every date, every life crisis. We're going to talk about Facebook in a little while. Here are the big five and dishonorable mention. Facebook is number one, bad. Google, worse, but it's because of the bulk of Google. They are the 800-pound evil gorilla. They are the rabid gorilla. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, people don't know, Microsoft is clever. Microsoft got in a lot of trouble, including with the hacker community, in the 80s and in the 90s for being just, fascistic. If you used Windows, you could not get Internet Explorer off your hard drive. It was there forever. It phoned home. It reported everything that you did. It kept hidden copies of Microsoft Word, which it still does, but at least now you can find them. They're not invisible in an invisible directory. Microsoft is still out there doing terrible things, and then you have marketing companies, which we're going to talk about. Somebody tweeted that to me, and I shamelessly stole it because I can't get that damn Apple Pencil to work. So I just stole it. Whoever you are, if you're watching this or if you're in this room, thank you, and I really will pay you for the rights to this. Sure. No, I really will. I really will. One of the things I don't understand, especially about this group, and it's something I always wanted to address, and this is like the guy on his deathbed talking to his family. This is my last talk at Hope, so I want to say this. Hello. I forgot that it was a lapel thing. Here's something I don't understand. Everybody's screaming and yelling that the NSA, which really doesn't care about anybody in this room, they don't want to invade your privacy. They want to catch terrorists. They want to catch criminals. They want to stop bad people. Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, pretty much everybody, from doing bad things in the United States. That's their job. I've been to the NSA headquarters. I've met a lot of NSA people, doing a project with the NSA Museum right now, and I got to tell you, they're not bad people. They're people who would love America and would make 97 times as much money working in the private sector. And they're working for the government because they're good people. You can disagree with my analysis. You can think that they go over the edge. God bless you. That's fine. I'm telling you my opinion, that the NSA is really trying to protect this country. And Snowden was very, very clever with his revelations. We're going to talk about that. He revealed something that he knew would piss everybody off. Does anybody in here talk about that he released information on our surveillance of North Korea? No. North Korea is a concentration camp with a flag. We damn well should be surveilling them. And to criticize the US government and reveal what we're doing is outrageous. Snowden revealed things that we're doing against narcotics traffickers. No, they're wonderful people. Their rights should be protected. I never understood that people were furious about the US government, who are, there's some pinheads. I mean, don't forget I was hauled off the stage here in 2010 by the FBI. And by the way, of the 6 agents, 1 went to prison, 4 got fired, and the 6th was transferred to the scuba team. And when he was transferred, I got a call, and they said, Ted Cacioppi swims with the fishes. And I said, oh my God, somebody whacked Agent Cacioppi? No, we transferred him to the scuba team. That's a true story. That will be in my book. So everybody goes berserk about the US government gathering stuff. But Facebook, that gathers on the average person, if I had a choice between all the privately held data in the world, or somebody would give me a direct jack into the T3 feed, or it's probably like a T900 feed, and that I would have access to CIA and NSA and FBI and Homeland Security and everything. If I had to choose between Facebook and the entire US government, if I had real backdoor access to Facebook, Facebook hands down. Unless you are an Al-Qaeda member or a Mafia member, that's who has your data. And the government is protecting people, and Facebook wants to show you cat pictures. So here's what I did to try to help you. I'm going to put up cat pictures for about 10 seconds. Hopefully you'll get your fill. Where's the cat sounds? Ah, there we go. I have an endless loop here of a cat in heat. Probably that one right there. Okay. All right, so you have your cat pictures. Stay away from Facebook. But if that didn't do it, let me tell you about Facebook.
Would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
No.
Your data included in the data sold to the malicious third parties?
Yes.
It was. Now, are you willing to change your business model in the interest of protecting individual privacy?
Congresswoman, I'm not sure what that means.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
Because he's
How do
normal.
you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
Do you track devices that an individual who uses Facebook has that is connected to the device that they use for their Facebook connection, but not necessarily connected to Facebook?
I'm not sure the answer to
Neither
that
am
question.
I.
Really?
Yes.
How long do we have to wait for that kind of investigation?
Congresswoman, we expect it to take many months.
Years?
I hope not.
Will you commit to changing all the user default settings to minimize to the greatest extent possible the collection and use of users' data?
Congressman, this is a complex issue that I think deserves more than a one-word answer.
Well, again, that's disappointing.
Okay, so my takeaway from this is, these are the people that are going to decide whether or not to regulate Facebook. Pretty much these are people who don't even know how to log into Facebook. These are the most inept, clueless people imaginable. And not just because, except for Ted Cruz, they were Democrats. This is, all kidding aside, across government, people don't understand what Facebook is or what's going on in the black box, under the hood. They don't understand. I'm going to show you some stuff which even you don't know about. Most of you, some of you, if there's a Facebook security guy in here, raise your hand so we can tar and feather you during Q&A. But the truth is, the average governmental employee has no clue. They can't regulate Facebook because they need like tech support from the 12-year-old grandson. Here's questions that weren't answered, question after question after question. Whether minors' information is taken, whether they worked with a pro-Kremlin propaganda group, what kind of tracking practices? The answer is they track you 24/7, 365, and I have specifics of that. Put me in front of Congress, we'll have some fun. Breakdown of the 87 million profiles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, these are all questions that weren't answered. This is the guy that you are trusting with your deepest, darkest secrets. Here's another picture of him. Okay, so, I'm sorry, I had to do that. Okay, so, well, that one, he needs reprogramming. He needs reprogramming. And actually, I think, wasn't there like an evil brother Lore or somebody? You are a pack of nerds, boy, let me tell you. Okay, so Cambridge Analytica, the big scandal, that's what everybody's talking about. Facebook shared more data than with them with 61 other companies. Show of hands, how many people here know that? Well, God bless you. There's like, I don't know, 50 people that raised their hands. Unfortunately, there's a lot more than that in this room. And I can assure you, anything that you guys don't know about the world of tech, nobody knows. Nobody. For example, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Qualcomm, Samsung. Samsung is evil. Let me tell you what Samsung does. Samsung in Europe has hard-coded Facebook app on all the Samsung phones that it sells. You cannot remove it. This guy's nodding his head so he knows. You cannot remove it, and what's more, even if you don't activate it, even if you don't have a Facebook account, it phones back to the mothership with your data, including your address book and stuff like that. Ooh. So, and how do you remove it? You have to set up a Facebook account, activate it, and you have to ask to remove it, and then they tell you no, by the way. They tell you that later. By the way, Facebook has something called shadow profiles. Everybody here knows that, right? Okay. Who said yup? Okay, you, sir, that raised your hand. How do you remove a shadow profile? Well, you actually can, but what do you do? What do you have to do? You have to set up a Facebook account. Okay. So besides BlackBerry, Nissan, UPS, who did they share it with? Achichornia. Mail.ru, which is, like it or not, connected with the Soviet government. In Russia, internet browses you. Okay. Anyway, you know, that's another reason why I came and spoke one last time. I have all these jokes I got to get rid of. I got to get rid of these jokes. But Facebook is buddies with the Mail.ru outfit and gave them unrestricted access to for a while. But then what happened? There is no danger, comrade. Russia, Facebook, actually, you know how they put people in different categories: depressed, not depressed, married, single, car owner. This is the honest to God truth. Research it if you don't believe me. Facebook labeled 65,000 Russians as potential traitors. All of these 65,000 people have disappeared. No, not really. Maybe from Facebook, but okay. So last week, last week the European Union fined Facebook 500,000 euros, which is about $700,000, for some of the stuff that they've been doing. Not everything, they're still looking. Facebook earns that in less than 10 minutes. That was the big fine, the giant fine. And what was the result? Facebook's earnings are at an all-time high. All of this didn't affect them. This is from a couple of days ago. This is current. All-time high. Mark Zuckerberg is now the world's third richest man. He edged out Warren Buffett, who's been working at it his whole life. He's about 3,000 years old. He built 5 million Walmart stores, and he's like a little gnome who does nothing but this. But Zuckerberg is now the third richest man in the world. Huh? Has nothing to do with Walmart. Well, he owns the stock. He owns stock. He didn't build it. That's the other 8,000-year-old guy. I can't think of his name. Anyways, huh? Walmart. Oh, Sam Walton. Walton, thank you. Sam Walton. His name isn't Walmart. It's Walton. I didn't say it was Walmart. Okay, anyway, Zuckerberg is now the third richest man in the world. And, I mean, he's still out there spying on what you type. Anyway, no, this is an actual photo. This is an actual photo. When I saw this, my friend had this and showed it to me. I said, you got to send it to me. I got to use this for. This is an actual photo. He's with his wife. I think he's looking for a second wife. They allow that in China. And all right. Let me tell you that this is actually something interesting to know, and very, very disappointed in Wired magazine. They killed this story when I was talking to them about it. Wired, if there's any of you Wired people in this room, shame on you, because this is a very, very important story. There is so much critical information on both Facebook and Google. We're going to talk about Google in a second. And if you subpoena them, they do everything they can do to resist giving the information. They make you get the subpoena certified by their local court in California, then they ignore it. You have to get an order to compel, then they ignore it. You get a contempt citation, then they respond, and they ask for 60 days to analyze it. I mean, they drag it out and drag it out and drag it out. There's instances where they've dragged it out by ignoring it and fighting it and whatever for a year and a half, 2 years. Sometimes they turn over info, sometimes they don't. If Alex Urbellis is in here, if you have any questions about this, he and I have gone after Verizon and Twitter and some of these outfits for information. They fight it like mad. We actually have a bunch of attorneys in California who are setting up something called the Facebook Google Subpoena Project, so we can actually get legal information out of them as permitted by law. But they show absolute contempt for everybody, and it's more complicated than that. I mean, there are people who are facing murder charges. There are people who've been defrauded out of their life savings and went from being a retired teacher to living in their car in one case, and Google and Facebook won't turn up data, won't respond to a legal subpoena, so they're bums. Here's Zuckerberg when he's asked for a subpoena.
Hey,
when he served a subpoena.
oil.
Here he comes.
Oh, brother.
Okay, so that's Zuckerberg. Now, I put this up not so we can laugh at him, but I really believe this should give you a sense of who and what Zuckerberg is. Zuckerberg is no, he's not that short, but he's 5'7". You stop somebody in the street, how tall is Zuckerberg? I don't know, 6 feet tall. He spends his entire life staging photos. He does all kinds of trickery. I mean, people have written articles about it. This is I think, Gizmodo. It's astounding. It's unbelievable. When he here's another one. When he testified at Congress, Okay, this is not Photoshop. This is not Photoshop. Go home, research it, laugh your ass off, because it's pretty funny, except when you realize this is the third richest man in the world. He knows everything that there is to know about you, and he can cause the election of a president. Leader of the free world is picked by this psychologically impaired person. No, I mean that literally, not as a joke. If I'm testifying in front of Congress and I'm the third richest man in the world, I'm not going to worry about a booster seat. I'm really not. That's a real picture. That's not a joke. Born Jewish, doesn't care about it. Not because there's something inherently wonderful or bad or anything about being Jewish, but he has disowned everything in his life and created a new persona. If you are involved in Holocaust denial, you can post on Facebook. If you are involved in supporting Hamas or Hezbollah or other groups that talk actively about murdering Jews, Mr. Zuckerberg doesn't care. Until this whole kerfluffle happened with Cambridge Analytica in Congress, he was actually on a tour, a 50-state tour where he was going out and doing things like a political candidate. And the story is he was considering running for president in 2024 or 2028, amazingly. I mean, you know, it could never happen. A billionaire with no political experience being elected president? It could never happen, right? Anyway, I don't think there's any chance of him running for political office anymore, but he is going to pick the next president. I really believe that. I believe he has the ability to do that. And they've had, and well, there you go again. Let me tell you some of the stuff Facebook does, and let me do it quickly. Facebook, if you don't upload photos with EXIF data, they fingerprint your photo by the sensor imprint. And they know every camera that posts to Facebook, and they analyze the photos and match them to that camera. I want to point out that I put up this technique here in 2008. Zuckerberg is doing it now, so whatever. And he has a patent for it. Associating camera with users and objects in a social networking system. He patented it. Here's some other things he did. Statistics for continuous location tracking. How your Facebook app tracks you 24/7. This is actual Facebook patent. Here's another one. Scary. Routine deviation notification. If you stop moving around for 8 to 10 hours during normal sleeping hours, they log that as your home location. That's how they know where you live, if you don't tell them. Determining user personality characteristics from social networking system communications and characteristics. They know if you're open, if you're closed, if you're scared, if you're happy, whatever. And they use that to manipulate activity. Predicting life changes, including when you're going to get sick, when you're going to die, and when a loved one is going to die. Pull Facebook's patents, read them, be really, really scared. Really, really scared. Inferring relationship statuses of users of a social networking system. They have thousands, not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of potential data points that they use to know who's your significant other, have you broken up, are you in the market for somebody, do you get along with your parents, do you speak to your kids, whatever. And why is this really, really helpful? Because Facebook subscribers use their real names, their real addresses, their real phone numbers, their real email addresses. The amount of data that they gather on you as a person, and then they match it with your biographical data, makes them an absolutely unique entity in the world. You use Facebook, you can't get off Facebook. They bug you constantly. For example, here's something I just got from them. What was your position at Pelorium? Your profile is only 88% complete. Well, geez, I was hoping it was like 8% complete. You get stuff like this. So-and-so and so-and-so invited you to use Instagram. 531 of your friends are on Instagram. For the record, if you send me something on Facebook Messenger, I don't even know where it goes because I don't use Facebook Messenger. But people, I don't know where Big Frank is, our security guru here. He called me up one day, he says, "Why are you ignoring me? I've been messengering you." Let me tell you why. constant tracking, the establishment of the face line, which is hey Frankie. They have what's called a bottomless news feed. You just scroll and scroll and scroll because they don't want you to go away. And they want to, okay, he did 2 scrolls, give him an ad. 2 scrolls, give him an ad. People spend a ridiculous amount of time. They spend the equivalent at least of 1 work day every week on Facebook. I don't get it, but they do. Facebook is studying your mom, your makeout buddy, and your 9/11 conspiracy theories. Without going into all of this, which I would do if we had more time, and by the way, those of you that are in law enforcement, government, investigators, forensics, anything allied to the field, there's an organization called Fraternal Order of Investigators. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We run seminars on open source intelligence. Bernie S. went to it, a couple other people. We teach this stuff, but it's actually a 40-hour course. It's a crazy course. Anyway, just terminology used in communications. Parents writing to their children. I love the one down there, eye out. When you keep running with those scissors, you're going to take your eye out. Anyway, mommy, go shopping, sorry, I'm shocked, grandma. These all mean that the person you're communicating with is a family member. They can deduce relationships just from vocabulary. Okay, here's the example. Researchers were experimenting with your news feed to figure out about how humans' emotions work when we're physically apart. And by the way, they also purposely depressed people to see if they would buy more stuff, and they did. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship, you know somebody's mad, they go shopping. But anyway, Facebook wants to listen in on what you're doing. They have patents for that. It's always about money. They're doing this. They want to know as much about you as they can. They want to pigeonhole you in what's called partner categories. And let me give you an example. Well, you know what? Here's some information that Facebook gathers on users. Location, age, generation, gender, language, education, field of study, school, ethnic affinity, income and net worth, home ownership, property size, square footage, users who have an anniversary within 30 days, engaged, married, recently moved. There's 600 data points on the average Facebook user that they try to fill out. Shadow profiles on 800 million non-members, 800 million. How do you remove a shadow profile on Facebook? Well, you have to join Facebook to do it. And these are all things that they analyze. Shadow profiles, tagging, synchronizing, deleted postings, they keep them. And by the way, Facebook now, if you go to reply and you type something in, and you just don't even post it, they save that for 18 months. If you just type it in. Facial recognition, we're going to talk about facial recognition in a second. This is a 2008 slide that I put up when I gave the talk here. The big problem with Cambridge Analytica was if you opted in to their scam survey, you dragged all your friends and all their data into it too. Well, Facebook announced this in 2008, and I put it up when I gave the talk. So there you go. Facial recognition. Facebook's facial recognition is 0.2% better than the FBI's. And the FBI works from mugshots, controlled photos. Facebook does it from photos in the wild. This is Library of Congress. This is Facebook. 1 billion people, not 1 billion people, 1 billion photos are added every day to Facebook. 1 billion photos, 1 billion photos are added to Facebook every day. 1 billion photos. And people are idiots, so they post everything. Here's somebody who got angry with his kid, taped up his kid, posted it on Facebook. Not funny, horrible. Guy went to jail, correctly so, but he put it on Facebook. on the run for robbing a bank. Guy robs a bank, he poses with a bottle of Cristal and the stolen money. That's his warrant, and he's locked up. Okay. Okay? People are idiots. How this is my morning post, I don't know. It's not mine, but anyway. 1 in 5 divorces now involve evidence from Facebook. Okay. $1 billion photos, the majority of them selfies, posted on Facebook on weekends. Selfies get posted on weekends, other photos get posted during the week. Now, by the way, I just want to tell you about this monkey, this really photogenic monkey. A guy put a game cam out in the jungle, and this monkey, and he, I've been practicing that monkey noise, and took a bunch of beautiful photos, and the photographer, who wasn't a particularly successful wildlife photographer until then, took that and made posters and became famous. So PETA comes along and sues the photographer on the behalf of the monkey. Just as an example of the world we live in, and the monkey won in lower court. The monkey won. The photographer, poor guy in the United Kingdom, got bankrupted, and he finally signed an agreement with the monkey. So this is like going to keep him in bananas for years. I mean, the monkey now gets a piece of every photo being sold. Okay, this, I don't know. If you're doing a doctoral dissertation on psychology, this could be the basis of your thesis. It really could. I mean, I don't know. I'm a different generation. I mean, you want to go next to the person and maybe go like this, or here, Bob, take our picture. I don't know. Anyway, why is Facebook so interested in photos? Number one, it's intel. Somebody posts a photo of you on their Facebook page, they don't tag you, they can identify it. And they do it very, very well. But also because Facebook is now partnering with all the marketing companies. And they are doing what's called a social credit report with financial interaction. Facebook is setting up a thing where if you walk into a store, they will know, oh, this is a trustworthy guy, this is a guy who should get special deals, coupons should appear on his phone. Facebook patent described a way to set a trust level for each person who enters a store. By recognizing their faces and connecting it to the data in their Facebook profile, the system could figure out which shoppers were trustworthy or could unlock special deals. It's all about money. But the end result is you're royally screwed. It's all about money. My mom, your mom, told you, don't hang out with bad people. People are going to think you're a bad person also. Well, if you hang out with bad people, you probably are a bad person. If you're a gangbanger, well, if you're hanging around with gangbangers every day, you are or will be a gangbanger. If you're hanging around at hacker conferences, you're probably a hacker or somebody investigating hackers, but that's another discussion. You really are who you associate with. People marry people like them, people hang out with people like them, people communicate with people like them. It's called assortative mating. And even, by the way, even the zip code that you live in tells things about you. There's a phenomenal book that you should read called The Big Sort. People like to be with people like themselves. I mean, there really is a filter bubble and a confirmation bubble. And people have used Facebook, for example, there was something called Project Gaydar, where just by looking at somebody's Facebook page, these university researchers were able to tell if somebody was straight or gay just on the basis of who their friends were. I mean, not because the guy was wearing like a feather boa or something like that. Really who they associated with. And all joking aside, it really is that defining. Who you associate with defines who you are. Facebook is setting up a payment system. By the way, if you have sent somebody through Facebook money and you have not secured with a PIN code, there's a big problem right now with people stealing phones, immediately going to Facebook and sending people money. So if you've used the credit card through Facebook to send somebody on Facebook money, it's probably still insecure on the Facebook app. Facebook now handles billions of communications a day. Let me just tell you, these are two slides, this one and the next one, from an open source intelligence class that I teach. If you know the terminology, you can find any piece of information on anybody. You can find any person on Facebook. Here's in the blue is the desired person that you're trying to locate. He was an investigator named Stephen, used to live in Brooklyn, likes to scuba dive, went to John Jay, he's in his late 40s, give or take 2 years. This is the search string that will find that person. You can define it down. It's not just people who have backdoor access through apps. You can do that. Here's another one. Guy named Yuri, used to live in Hackensack, speaks Russian, worked at Columbia, he's in his early 40s, give or take 2 years. That will find him. And by the way, he has a Facebook user profile under a different name, and I found him. So there you go. That's the guy you're trusting with all your information. And that's an IM that he sent. People who trust him with information, he thinks they're dumb so-and-sos. But I don't want you to think I'm just picking on Facebook. Let's talk about Google. How many people who are torqued off about Facebook know that Google is letting app developers and third parties read your email? Show of hands. I think some of you are probably lying, but it's still only about 100 people. Should be everybody in the room. So allow me to tell you, Facebook is allowing app developers and business associates, associated businesses to access the contents of your email, supposedly anonymizing them, but believe me, if I have your email box, it'll take me about an hour to figure out who you are. CNET article, go to CNET and read all about it. Google now has so much information. Well, I'll tell you who they do give information to, pretty much only, is law enforcement, because law enforcement will go and start locking people up if they don't turn over information responsive to a warrant. North Carolina cops couldn't figure out who committed a crime. On 7 occasions, they hit Google with information subpoenas for location information, people who were in this particular area, people who searched certain things, and so on and so forth. And you know what? They were right. Because you are what you Google. That's Rambam's law number 2. And I don't know if I put it in here, but for example, there was a 16-year-old girl choked to death in Florida. And before they killed her, the married couple that killed her Googled how to strangle somebody. Actual case, you can look it up. I think I have it up here along with their mugshots. There's another case. Guy wanted to kill his wife to collect the insurance. Smart law enforcement officer grabbed all the computers in the house, and in the undeleted search history, gunshot wound, right chest. And what happened? He shot his wife, shot himself in the right area over here, and then called the cops and said that some people invaded the house. It was a home invasion. They killed the wife. He fought them off. He's wounded. Come quick. Send an ambulance. And then he claimed on her insurance. And they found the Google search history. This is from 2006. Google is not just the search engine. Google is Gmail. Google is Google Docs. Google Voice. Google everything. Google has access to everything that you do if you're part of the Google ecosystem. And a lot of people are. Shifting your web searches to predict future trends. Let me tell you an example of something that Google does. Google wants to know where you are at every moment. But if you don't have an Android phone, if you don't have a Google app on your phone, if you don't have something that reports your location, they are now using P2P tracking. If there's nothing on my phone that tells Google where I am, but you and you and you have Google stuff on your phone, and they see the proximity of my phone to you guys, well, they know where I am. And this is an actual patent where they're doing that now. They're using other people's phones. Terms of service. Terms of service are an evil concept. They really are. But basically, you've agreed to that. Speech recognition. Speech recognition, Google's speech recognition is so good at this point that the US government is using it to transcribe and to search gazillions of recordings. Google power and metering, tracking from browsing, and so, oh, here we go. This is the guy, Barber, Justin Barber. Look at Justin Barber. He was the gunshot to the chest, and here's the poor young girl that got choked, and here's the two chokers who Googled it. You know, Google has this do no evil bullcrap. Let me show you some stuff. They had to be sued to delete people's faces. Delete people's faces from Street View. They basically ignored copyright and scanned every single book, whether it was under copyright or not. They allowed everything to be up on YouTube until they were sued. Misuse of trademarks. Let's say my biggest competitor is Bobby's XYZ Auto Shop. I can go to Google and I can buy the ad word Bobby's XYZ Auto Shop. And anybody who searches for you sees that right at the top of the Google page, and when they click on it, it goes to Steve's ABC Auto Shop. Whether it's trademarked or not. Busting Safari protections because they didn't have access to Safari, promoting their own products. Here's the famous case of Kevin Bankston from EFF. They didn't know he was a lawyer. They didn't know he was from EFF. So when he said, hey, my photo is up on your new Street View, take it down, they said, bite me. Fair use. You're, no expectation of privacy. So he sued, and now they mask everybody's face. Go onto private roads. Now, by the way, what's really interesting, Google Street View, they mask their own executives' homes. Not your home, not your home, not your home. Well, unless you're a Google executive. They go into private stores and they take pictures. Here we go, the copyright and so on and so on. In fact, Google is the 800-pound gorilla. They do whatever the hell they want. And they have absolute contempt for rights and privacy. I mean, Google was war driving for years and gathering node information. They got sued for $22.5 million. They make that in a percentage of a day. Percentage of a day. Here's the Google Street View camera. I'll just zoom in on that for you. I mean, they have absolute contempt. Now, here's what's fascinating to me about Google, and it aligns with what I brought up before about patriotism versus cat pictures. Google refused to assist the US government with something called Project Maven, which is artificial intelligence that would determine if something was a human or not, if viewed by a drone. Doesn't mean that person's going to get killed, but apparently Google said, we're not going to participate in this terrible warmongering thing. We're not going to do that. All of our employees are against it. And then 2 days later, Google plans big AI push in China. Okay. I've worked in China. I've done 100 cases in China probably. I'd spent a ton of time in China and in Hong Kong. And I want to tell you, nothing that you do in China stays your intellectual property, your information. Everything gets sucked out. So if they're developing AI in China, Chinese government, Chinese military is going to have access to it. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Not because I say so, but because that's the way it is. They won't work with the US government that protects the rights and the freedoms that allow there to be a Google, but they'll give it to the Chinese. I don't understand the info community anymore. And I just put this up here. I talk to people about this all the time. If anything shows the contempt that Google has for the average person stupid enough to be part of their ecosystem, it's something called the all mail folder. Show of hands, how many people know what that is? Should be the whole room, it's not. It's a percentage of the room. Okay, so who wants to be my question victim? You. What do you do to delete a Google, a Gmail message?
Very, very difficult. I don't even know if I know how.
It's an honest answer. He says, I'm not really sure. So here's what you do. First, you have to delete the message. It's deleted, right? You click on the little trash thing, it's gone. No, it's not. It's sitting in your trash for eternity. You have to go into the trash and empty your trash. Now it's gone, right? No. It goes into your all mail folder. There's a folder which is not immediately visible when you're using Google. That's called the all mail folder. So you delete the message, it's not deleted, it's in trash. You go to trash and you delete it, and it's not deleted. It goes to a secret folder you don't know about. And by the way, which in some versions of the Google app is not even visible to you. You have to go on a desktop, log into Google. Because they don't want you deleting your stuff. I'm not even going to go into that. Okay. I don't know how to stop that from playing, so let me just say that was Eric Schmidt. I didn't realize I was still in that. Hold on, let me see if I can kill the screen. Aha, okay. So here's what Eric Schmidt actually said. He said, we know where you go, we know where you're going to go, we can predict the future, we've got at least 14 photos of everybody, and at the end of it he says everyone should have a chance to change their name. If you don't like all this information we've gathered about you, everybody should have a chance to change their name. My personal preference, there should be regulation on Google. Everything that you get from Google is pretty much, except for Google Voice, which is super cheap, is free. Why? Because they want to be an ad agency. They sell you stuff. Them and Facebook, this is the bulk of their revenue stream, knowing about you and selling you stuff. All right. There are companies who do nothing but find out about your likes and your desires, separate from Google and separate from Facebook. Now, a couple of things you should know. Number one, these people are very, very secretive. Number two, every time that you dial an 800 number or go to a helpline or interact with a company in any way where you announce who you are and give a point of contact, it goes to these people. And they build day after day, year after year, decade after decade, marketing profiles of you. How many people here have heard of Axiom? Wow. About half the room. How many people here have heard of Information USA, Info USA? Less people. They're also a giant marketing company. Third thing you need to know is Facebook, Google, and these marketing companies interact. They all buy info from each other and they enhance their own records. every subscription, every toll-free phone call, every product survey, every registration, all your credit card activity, every login, every website visit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They gather your likes, your dislikes, your habits, your hobbies, your religion, your politics, not because they're trying to be Big Brother, but because they want to sell you stuff. They want to put ads in front of the right people. They want to get return. Here's an example that I tell people. Even the magazines that you subscribe to, or the websites that you visit, if you visit the digital versions of these, tell me everything there is to know about you. What sports you like, what religion you are, what politics you believe in. If I watch your reading and your browsing habits for just a month, I own you. I know everything about you. Marketing lists are prepared that are ridiculous. These are lists of people who owe money, caught in a pickle. Credit amigos. Credit amigos are Hispanic people who desperately need a loan. I think that's a pretty insensitive list name, but never mind. This is from 2002. This is a marketing list of suckers. This is something called Astrology Success. Most of you can't see it. I'm going to read it to you. Astrology Success customers have responded to a direct mail solicitation offering angelic intervention as a means of achieving financial and personal success. Pay me money, and I will have an angel intervene on your behalf. There's a number of, well, it's 55,000 people somewhere. Anyway, 55,000 people in that list. That's how defined they get. Book and magazine buyers, mature markets, so on and so forth. But this is all now digital, so it's much more effective. They have things like suffering seniors, elderly people with cancer. Oldies but goodies. 500,000 gamblers over the age of 55. Axiom shows that funnel for a reason, because what they do is they take info from direct mail, call centers, in-store, website, email, displays, mobile, text, mobile apps, social media, television, connected devices, custom media, and they feed it all into an entirely unique amalgamator, and they build profiles on people. What social network do you use? What kind of family ties do you have? Are you an adult with a senior parent? Are you an adult with a wealthy parent? They want to know that. Credit card use, gambling, investments, income, discretionary income. Are you an investor in stocks and bonds? What race are you? What ethnic code? What religion? Are you interested in arts, aviation, boats, celebrities? Are you particularly interested in Christian things? Are you an expected parent? What's your height? What's your weight? What's your gender? This is what they can generate on anybody. Are you an early parent? Are you in college? And they not only use this to sell people stuff, but fraud prevention, debt recovery. Do you owe somebody money? Well, if they know your house, your car, where you live, they're going to send the person right there. Fraud management, adherence to laws and legal requirements. Are you gay? Are you straight? And so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Defining your personality and your beliefs and what you care about. I mean, all of this is stuff. This particular slide I've been using for about 10 years. Psychographics is now the big buzzword. Facebook was using psychographics, and everybody, psychographics, what's that? We've been talking about this at Hope for a decade, or at least I have, more than a decade. Psychographics, micro-targeting. Micro-targeting means defining down so finely that if I come to you and I say, Facebook, I need every Chinese tap dancer in Iowa who drives a Buick. they can give me the 3 people that describes. And post my ad on their Facebook pages. The Big Sort, and so on and so on. There's outfits like Rap Leaf, which are insidious, millions and millions of records. Here's an actual profile. Person's in their mid-40s, white, married, a tradesman, likes sports, lives in a single-family house worth $1 million. Male, he's a Pisces, he has children, he has some college, he owns the home, he's been there 17 years, below average neighborhood, boo-hoo. By the way, there's his name, address, and phone number. Lifestyle, sports, plays football, likes NASCAR, yeah. Loves to travel, music, particularly R&B and soft rock, reads cooking books, reads about sports, owns pets, also has a motorcycle. There's pages and pages of stuff. Reading, gardening, so on and so forth. Collects coins, rob his house. Amazon is even worse. Amazon knows your name, knows your address, because they deliver packages to you, knows your phone number, knows your bank, knows your credit card, knows what books you read, knows what movies you watch, knows what other products you buy. If you buy a holster, you own a gun. If you buy a book on gay, LGBT travel, you're fit in one of those categories. Your purchases and your likes and your desires and your habits and your hobbies. And by the way, they even do stuff like they see what words you look up in their Kindle reader.